Alright guys, so in this video I want to go over some dreams, some visions, some supernatural experiences, and some prophetic words that were spoken over me and my mom over the years. And this video is to show that Yeshua has been with me for a very long time. I've been walking very closely with him, and I've been shown a lot. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So I'm going to start off with 4 dreams that I had. In the first dream, I was on a ship in the middle of the ocean, and I was walking to the front of the ship, and I noticed that the water was really black. It was really dark. And I felt a presence come up behind me, and then a voice spoke. And I realized that it was Yeshua. I realized that pretty quickly. Now, I did not see his face. He was proceeding to throw a bunch of papers overboard into the water. And I was standing there trying to find out where these papers were going or what was going on. They were just sinking into the water, but the water was so dark and black I couldn't find them. And so I exclaimed in the dream, I said, "Where are they going?" And Yeshua said, "This is what I do with your sins. When I forgive your sins, I throw them into the sea of forgetfulness, and I never remember them against you again." And it was a beautiful dream. And I think the lesson of this dream is, do not put guilt trips on yourself when you have asked for forgiveness. Trust that he's forgiven you and move on. I used to put a lot of guilt trips on myself, you guys. Sometimes I still do, but I try to remember that dream. I try not to. All right, so another dream that I want to talk about with you is a dream I had where an angel had landed on my porch. And the angel asked me to take a walk. So we took a walk right down the sidewalk right in front of my house and right over to the schoolyard that was right over from my house, which I found was very interesting that we were walking in my neighborhood. Kind of funny in a dream. And so when we got over to the schoolyard, the angel started to talk to me about my attitude. Because at the time, you guys, honestly, I was still growing in my relationship with Yeshua, and I just thought to myself, well, as long as I get into heaven by the skin of my teeth, I'm good. As long as I get in by the skin of my teeth. And the angel asked me why I just wanted to get into heaven by the skin of my teeth. And started to talk to me about how God loves us and how he wants to give us good things. He desires to. And so when we work for those things, we get higher rewards and higher rank in the kingdom. And I know this. Now, I don't know how many of you have read that book called The Final Quest by Rick Joyner. I've read it from cover to cover, and I do really believe there is a higher reward system in heaven. I do. I believe there is a ranking system in heaven, and I believe it's based on what you've done down here. Some people will be in higher areas than others, and some will receive more rewards than others. I think that's just a fact. I think that's why we have the judgment seat judgments. So when our works are tried and all of that. So the moral of that dream, the lesson of the dream, don't just try to get into heaven by the skin of your teeth, guys. You should be trying as hard as you can to obey God. Trying as hard as you can. Now, I'm not saying that your works absolutely save you. I'm just saying that it's part of your salvation, and you really should be trying to do good works, and you really should be trying your best to be obedient. So I believe that dream was very important because it snapped me out of just wanting to get in by the skin of my teeth and wanting to work a little bit harder. So it's true. It's true. That is the way it works, you guys. So I had that dream, and then the 4th dream I want to talk about is, this one is kind of interesting. So I remember when I had this dream, it was actually when I went back home between the years of 2005 and 2000, beginning of 2006. I was either still with Derek or I was almost through with that relationship when I had this dream. So I dreamt that I was on a street and there was a parade going on, and there was a band marching down the middle of the street. Now I was in the marching band back in high school for a while, and it was very interesting because this band was wearing red and white. Well, those were my high school colors. Found it very interesting that the band was all dressed in red and white, like my old high school. And I was told in the dream that red was for the blood and white was for purity. You guys, you can't make this stuff up. My high school colors were red and white. Come on. It's like some of this you just shake your head and you're like, how ironic. So, red for the blood, white for purity, and all of a sudden, this band goes over to a section where there's a lot of grass and weeds and stuff, and they start pulling it out of the ground. They start pulling all of these plants out of the ground, and they start coming toward me. And they started brushing me with these plants. And I got the idea that I was being anointed for something. And that's really all I know about that one. I just heard red for the blood, white for purity, and I also felt as if I was being anointed for something. I remember that the plants had a very strong aroma. I could really smell those plants, whatever they were. And so that was that dream. The very last dream I want to talk about is when I met Satan himself. Oh, yes, I did. So in this dream, I was standing in a very dark room. But yet to my left, there was like a shaft of light and a staircase, and I could feel that Yeshua was nearby. I could feel that he was nearby. And I was standing in the dark, and all of a sudden this big, tall figure just loomed over me, just bent over, reached down, and picked me up in the palm of its hand. You know who it was? Satan. It was Satan. I was standing in his hand. And I can tell you he has a pale white face. At least this is how I saw him. He had a pale white face, like a ghostly looking white, and his eyes were glowing like a greenish color. When he would grin, his smile was just like the Joker or something. It was a really creepy grin. And he just had short, dark hair. He was very tall. Very tall. I was standing in the palm of his hand, you guys, like a doll. I was like a doll in his hand. That's how small I was compared to him. Very scary. I was shaking like a leaf on a tree. I was petrified. I was shaking like crazy. I could feel myself shivering like nuts. And I thought, what the heck happened? Did I die? Am I in hell? Like, what am I doing here even? And like, I couldn't even get a word out. You know how you're so scared, like you can't even get a word out? That's how I felt. But yet, I tried to muster up all the strength that I could, like with every ounce of strength I even had. If I had any. I don't even know where it even came from, you guys. But the only words I could think of in my head at that time was that Satan was defeated. So I yelled out as loud as I could, Satan, you are defeated. And the minute I yelled that, he dropped me and my dream was over. My dream was over. I woke up. Woke up scared to death, had to sing some hymns to go back to sleep, needless to say, but I was alive and I was awake. And I think the moral, the lesson of this dream, you guys, is just you have to exert your power with the devil, with Satan. You have to stand on your power. You can't let him have control over you or he will just destroy you. And another thing, I think he felt so threatened by my testimony that he wanted to meet me in person. I feel he felt so threatened by me that he just had to meet me in person. Anyway, so those were the 4 dreams that I wanted to share with you guys. Now I'm going to go into some visions that I had. So one afternoon, I was laying on my bed here in Colorado, and I was just staring up at the ceiling, and I was feeling kind of tired, but you know how you go into a state of you're not all the way asleep, but you're also not all the way awake? Kind of like in between that part, in that stage. Okay, I know I was not asleep, but yet I was kind of dozing off, kind of. Well, all of a sudden I get a vision of my bedroom door, but there was something red coated all over the top of the door. And I thought, what is that? Is that paint? I thought. And then I had just heard in my mind it was blood. Like something told me it was blood. And I'm like, okay. And then a voice spoke, and I heard the voice say, if I see the blood, I will not pass over you. If I see the blood, I will not pass over you. I felt like Yeshua was saying that when I take up the rapture, as long as I see my blood, you're going to go in that rapture. But if I don't see the blood, you're not going. That's what I felt like the vision was all about. And I thought it was funny too, because, you know, I thought of Passover. How the Israelites put the blood on the door. That all came into my mind too during that vision. I was thinking of Passover. I was thinking of the Israelites putting blood on the door. And it's funny because during the Passover, if he saw the blood, the bad stuff would pass over them. Well, he was using that to show me that during the rapture, if he sees the blood, he's not going to pass over you. He will take you in the rapture. So it was very interesting. I also want to talk about an experience I had when I was young. I don't know what to think about this one, and I'm going to be honest, you guys, but I'm just trying to show you that I have been in touch with the other side for quite a long time. I was laying in my bed, and all of a sudden I saw this light shoot through my bedroom window. And I thought, what could that be? Is that a car light? Is that a street light? Is it the medevac helicopter? I didn't hear it go over. I thought, where is this light coming from? So I saw the light first, and I couldn't explain it away. I mean, it obviously wasn't the medevac because I didn't hear it. It obviously was not a street light or a car light. It wouldn't be that bright. So then, I mean, it was really quick though. It was like 1, 2, 3. Like I didn't have time to think about the light because the wind came next. The wind came, and it was a still summer night. There was no wind blowing outside. None. All of a sudden, a wind blew through my window, threw my curtains up in the air, and a voice came next. It was like 1, 2, 3, like I said, you guys. The wind, and then a voice spoke. And I'm not going to give out my real name anymore on YouTube, but it said my name twice, sort of like in a beckoning way, or in like trying to get my attention sort of way, like that. Said it twice, and it was a female voice. That's all I can tell you. It was a female. Okay, so I had that experience happen to me. I've had 2 experiences happen with my great-grandfather after his death. One experience was kind of supernatural, so I'm going to go over that one first, and then the other one was just a dream, but it was a very powerful dream. So I was sitting on the end of the couch in the living room next to the coffee table, and there was a picture on the coffee table of my great-grandfather. I usually didn't look at the picture or pay much attention to it very often because he had been passed away for a while. You know, you eventually do move on with your life. When someone passes away, you don't always like look at their pictures constantly or anything like that. Maybe some people do if the person is a lot closer to them or something, but I was close with my great-grandfather, just not so close to be staring at his picture every single day, like missing him every single day, you know, that sort of a thing. So I thought in my head, I usually don't pay any attention to these pictures much because he's been gone for a while now. But for some reason, I just got the feeling that I should pick it up and look at it. So I picked it up and I looked at it, and I thought a couple good memories about him, and I set it down on the coffee table. I got up, I walked out of the room. My brother came into the living room as I was going out. I went out to get a drink or something like that in the kitchen. When I came back in with my cup, my brother was sitting on the same exact end of the couch with the picture in his hand. He looked up at me and said, "You know what? I really don't think to look at these pictures very often. I mean, because after all, he has been gone for a while and everything, but for some reason I just got the feeling that I needed to pick it up and look at it." I was like, "What?" About dropped my drink on the floor. I was like, "I was just sitting there doing the exact same thing a few minutes ago." He's like, "No." I said, "Yeah. Yeah." So that was very, very interesting, to say the least. Another experience I had was a dream. Well, it was a dream. So I remember the morning that this happened because my hamster was having babies that morning. Leave it to me, I had picked up a pregnant hamster at the pet store and had no idea it was pregnant. I was sitting there watching it in its cage, and it was acting kind of funny. It was a girl, of course a girl. A girl's having babies, yes. I'm tired, you guys. The hamster's name was Aspen. That was the point I was trying to get across, was her name was Aspen. It was a girl hamster and her name was Aspen. But yeah, so it was a cream and white hamster, and all of a sudden I saw something coming out of it. And I yelled at my mom, and I was like, "Mom, come here. Hurry, this hamster is having babies," I said. And she gave birth. I watched the hamster give birth to all of her little babies, her little rubber erasers. They were all so cute. And she did not eat one of them. She took care of all of those hamsters. We put them all in a giant fish tank with the lid off so that she could have enough room to care for all of them. And then, of course, we gave them up to the pet store or whatever when, you know, she was done weaning them and all that stuff. But it was so hilarious because leave it to me to pick up a pregnant hamster and not know it. But it was the same morning that had happened, and I told my mom, I said, "Hey Mom, you know, I had a dream last night." And so I told her that I saw my great-grandfather. He looked radiant, you guys, like he was glowing. I noticed how radiant he looked and how his face was just glowing, and I exclaimed out in the dream, I said, "Wow, you look great." I said, when I saw him in the dream. I was just taken back by how radiant he looked and how he was almost glowing. And I guess when we're with Yeshua, that's the way we're going to look, you guys. And he immediately started speaking to me, and he said, "Tell your mom that I am with Yeshua, and tell her not to worry." Well, really funny, because I didn't know this. My mom started to cry, and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you, Mom. She said, no, that's not it. She said, you wouldn't know this because I'd never told you, but she said that he used to write that in her yearbooks, in her cards. When he was alive, he used to always tell her not to worry. Well, I didn't know anything of this. And so I knew at that point in time that was definitely from heaven, from God, supernatural, definitely. I really believe that Yeshua allowed that contact. I'm not saying in every case he allows contact with people from the other side, but in this case, obviously, he did. And people will say all the time, this is satanic, this was really not from God, but good things never come from Satan, you guys. Remember that. Good things come from God, okay? They don't come from Satan, all right? So don't tell me my visions and my dreams and the stuff that has happened to me. It's from Satan. That's impossible. That's impossible. So I'm going to end this video. I think this one is long enough. I was hoping to get some prophetic words in this one, but I think I'm going to make a new video about that, and I'll just throw in the prophetic numbers with that as well. And so I will be making another video. Talk to you soon.